We're hearing this noise, this noise, and even this one. Now these are all separated, but when you drive this vehicle, you can't separate them. They're all together and it sounds horrible. If you want to take a guess as to what these noises are and where they're coming from, leave it in the comment section below. The good news is, whatever you guessed in the comment section as to where the noise is coming from, you probably got it right because there's so much wrong with this car. You have about a 75% chance of getting it right. Now, this is actually a great opportunity for us to get a kit for this vehicle once we fully diagnose it, because since there's so much wrong with it, I personally want to get it all done in one project, so Kits from 1A Auto help you do that by grouping all the parts you need for that project with just one click of a button. Every situation is going to be different, but for us, what I heard the most while I was driving this vehicle is on the driver's side, there was a noise that was basically dominating all other noises. So what I want to do is, with the vehicle up in the air, you could just lift it up on jack and jack stands for this. Before we remove the wheel, because there is no other way to very clearly pinpoint the issue, I want to grab the wheel and just shake it. If you shake it left and right, just wiggle it. This will test tie rods typically, inners and outers, and honestly, there's no play at all here. I don't feel anything. If you test it up and down, so 12 and 6, this typically tests ball joints. I don't hear anything, and that's strange, but here's the thing. If you have a bad wheel bearing, any position on this wheel will make it wiggle because it has nothing to do with ball joints or anything like that. I'm not hearing that either, so where is our noise coming from? Well, let's take off the wheel and dig in a little deeper. To check a bunch of other components in the front end, typically you can use a pry bar. It doesn't have to be very long. But, for example, the upper ball joint, you would check by trying to pry it. So I'm going to pry it down, and I feel play. Yep, not a lot, but that has a little bit of play. So if you hold it, you can feel it. If you look at it very carefully, it's going up and down, and it's not supposed to. This ball and socket joint right here are basically further apart than they should be, and when I pry it down, they're squishing back together. Now looking down, we have several components in this area, starting with the tie rods. Now we already checked the tie rods by wiggling the wheel, and I know that they are not bad, and we can try it again. You would see play here, and then you would see play, well, you can't technically see it, but you would hear it and feel it in the inner tie rod behind the, or inside the bellows boot. But that's not the case for us. We have a sway bar link here, which it's going to be as easy as grabbing the sway bar and moving it up and down. I'm not hearing a single thing. It feels nice and tight, and it does pivot smoothly, the little amount that it does pivot. We also have a lower ball joint here, which we can check with a pry bar. In this case, we want to put the pry bar between the control arm and the knuckle, pry it, nothing. Something to keep in mind is there are two main ways to check these lower ball joints. The first one is going to be like we're doing here, raise the vehicle up and then stick a pry bar in between the knuckle and the control arm, or where the ball joint is seated. Try to spread them apart, see if there's play. Now the other way is to actually support the control arm instead of the body of the vehicle, let the wheel hang down on it, and then try to move the wheel up and down, or the knuckle that is, and that's going to spread them apart. It's just different types of ball joints. So if this one was flipped around, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be supporting the control arm and trying to move the wheel up and down. So you want to make sure whatever vehicle you have, you check it the right way, because it's easy to overlook a loose ball joint if you check it the wrong way. So I'd say we're good on this side, except for the upper control arm, but we have to check out the right front because I heard noise there too. Let's do the same test on the other side of the vehicle, left and right. Oh, I hear something. Yeah, that's not right. I'm gonna have to dig in for that. And top and bottom. Okay, we got problems over here. Let's take the wheel off. If you remember when I wiggled the wheel at 12 and 6 o'clock, it was making some noise. And I can see some signs here of a rusted out ball joint on the inside, and if I wiggle it just with my hands, that's pretty loose, and it's not supposed to do that. I can see that it's a greasable ball joint too, so this has been replaced because this is not original, and clearly it has never been greased because it has play and there is rust coming out of it. You can see because it stained the knuckle and the boot. So that's a problem that we need to address, but let's go down a little bit further. Further down we have the tie rods here, which did have play. You can hear it, and it's actually not the outer tie rod that has play, it's the inner tie rod. But we can't leave it at that. We have sway bar links over here. I don't hear anything, so this is all perfect. We do have a lower ball joint, however, which we're going to test just like on the other side by putting a pry bar right here, and, well, what do we have here? That is quite a bit of play. Another thing we noticed on this side is the control arm and this ball joint, as we saw it had play, but especially the control arm is what looks like original, and so are the bushings that are on it. So if I pry on this bushing, which is supposed to, by the way, keep everything nice and stable, it's not doing that very well. Now on the other side, someone has replaced the lower ball joint and the control arm, but for some reason didn't do this side, and clearly it has play and the bushings are worn out, and that side is fairly new, so it wasn't done too long ago. We're going to have to address this as well. Here's a quick tip for you. When you have this much play in the front end, or really any corner of the vehicle, like what we just saw here with the ball joints, tie rods, and all that, the tire will tell you a lot of that story. So look at these two tires. Okay, this one came off of the left front, which is what we just checked out earlier. This is the right front, which is what we just looked at. These tires, and I know because I asked the owner of the vehicle, were purchased 5 months ago at the exact same time. This is the same tire. And look how much more wear this one has over this one. This one has a few thousand miles on it. This one looks like it's been on for 5 years. It is almost completely worn out and almost in need of replacement. And it is definitely uneven as well because you can see that it's feathered on the edge. Might have a little bit more tread here, but just overall it's gone. You have this yellow line on the inside of this particular tire. Where is it here? I don't know, completely gone, worn out. On the outer edges, you can see the deep grooves of the tread. On here, I mean, it's starting to get down to the wear bars on the tire. So it is extremely worn, very uneven, and this should be the first sign when you just look at a vehicle and you see that it's the same tire, but one's more worn than the other. There's a problem. With all that's going on here, it's easy to be overwhelmed, and trying to figure it out can be a challenge, but if you use our app, you can easily narrow down your search and find the issue that you're having just based on the noise or what you see or maybe what you feel in the car. Because I heard noise in the back as well, I had to check it all out, and I did the same thing that I did in the front. Took a pry bar with the wheels off, pried on things. This does have upper control arms with ball joints, so I wanted to make sure those are good. Everything checked out except for a rear sway bar link on this side that has play, and it's making quite a bit of noise. And on this side, it doesn't have play yet, but it has a torn boot, which, well, it's not far from having play once the grease leaks out and it basically rots out the joint. Now that we've gone over all of the bad components, I'm sure you got at least one of them right because, well, yeah, there's a lot wrong with this vehicle. So now, having said that, let's start replacing all of these, starting with the highest priority item on my list, and that is in regards to safety concerns. Top on my list is the ball joints in the front. We're gonna do the upper ball joints, and you'll notice I'm not just replacing the ball joints because I want a new control arm in there on both sides. This also refreshes the bushing since we have an entire new assembly, and it makes the job a whole lot easier because we don't have to press the ball joints out of the old control arm and then new ball joints back in. It is also very important that you torque these at right height so that you don't destroy the new bushings whether you put a new control arm on or not. We're also going to use that ball joint press that I just mentioned and actually replace the lower ball joint because it's pressed in the knuckle, so we have no other choice for this one. Now we're also going to replace the lower control arm because those bushings are bad. I'm only going to do one side because the other side was just recently replaced, so I'm not going to throw that one out. We also need new tie rods, so I'm going to do inner and outer tie rods, and of course after all this, the vehicle does need a thorough alignment front and rear. We're going to finish things off with the sway bar link in the rear because it is the least important item when it comes to safety. Now, yes, you want these to operate properly, But they're a lot less dangerous if they have play than, well, let's say a front ball joint. With all of our parts installed, you may have noticed that we removed a greasable ball joint and control arm and we put in a sealed unit. Now, in your case, you may be replacing multiple of those. Well, the reason for that is because the sealed units are maintenance free as opposed to the greasable ones where you have to grease them at least every other oil change. Otherwise, the grease leaks out. That's just how they're designed. The sealed units, you put it in, you get your car fixed, and you don't think about it again. So that's why it's a good idea to get your parts or kits from 1A Auto. In order to avoid a lot of these snowball effect repairs in the future, it's important to check your vehicle front to back every time you service it. So if you do an oil change, look at all the front end parts, look at everything in the back, and maybe you'll find something that's on its way out but isn't completely bad yet. Otherwise, things can stack up pretty easily. Now, if you don't do the work yourself, that's totally fine, but have the technician working on it look over everything on the vehicle so you can stay informed as to what might be in the near future on your repair list. And now let's take it out for a road test and see how quiet it rides.